cell phone charger back there if you need one.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's a beautiful day today. You go out and get some sunshine?
Yes, I'm actually visiting my sister, so I'm glad the weather's good while I'm here.
Oh, that's great. Where are you visiting from?
New York. I go to school here.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, New York is great. I was there last Labor Day. I drove out there. It's a lot of fun. It's really great.
Interesting. I actually prefer Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. It's cleaner.
That is very true. We don't do the garbage on the street thing here.
Yeah.
So that is something to it. What do you think of the pizza here versus there?
I actually don't really like deep dish.
Okay.
I like thin crust.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like I prefer like more sauce than cheese actually.
Sure.
So.
Right across the street from where I picked you up is one of my favorite places in Chicago. It's called Aurelio's, and they do a super thin crust pizza. They've been around since like the 50s or 70s or something like that.
Interesting.
It's thin style bar cut, so it's little squares.
Ooh.
Really, really good. It's not that like floppy. It's a crispier crust.
Nice.
But really good. They do like a 3-cheese blend, and then they do whatever toppings and stuff you want on it. Really, really good. Literally across the street from that Trader Joe's over there. Aurelio's.
I might have to take you up on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Highly recommend. Yeah, and honestly, like as far as deep dish pizza goes, I'm not from Chicago originally. I'm from California, but I've learned the locals also don't like deep dish pizza. It's for the tourists. You have a deep dish once or twice a year. I'm about due for my deep dish.
Yeah.
My first one. But it's like, but the real Chicago pizza is the thin crust bar cut square slices. Like that's what most people in Chicago know is like this is the pizza you get every day.
Nice.
And then deep dishes every now and then.
That's really interesting because I feel like I feel like I have an aversion to cheese sometimes.
Ooh, okay.
So too much of it kind of.
Sure. Yeah, especially on a deep dish, you got like an inch of just mozzarella, which can be a lot.
Yeah.
I get that. If you don't want too much. Yeah, that's what I like about it. It's definitely it's not a pizza that puts you to sleep, which is what I enjoy.
That's very interesting. How are you enjoying Chicago though?
It's always too cold.
Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great city. I love the people. I'm a comedian, so there's a lot of places to do comedy.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, so it's a great city for that. I like the energy of it. I'm here because my daughter, her mom moved here with her, and as soon as she turns 18, I'm back in California. So I got like 8 more years, and then I can go.
Oh, nice.
But I tell my daughter, I'm like, listen, if they were to put Chicago in Los Angeles, I would never leave. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a great city, great vibe, ton of energy, great restaurants, a lot of culture. It's just that I can't do cold. I'm very much a lizard. Like I need hot weather.
That's very true. It just like hurts your body sometimes just to get the cold.
Yes. Yeah, it really does. That like blasting your face,
Yeah.
chap your skin. Like I like Hollywood. I'm like, give me 80 degrees most of the year. Like that's what I'm all for. But global warming is taking care of it out here. It seems like it's getting there.
We'll have to wait too long.
Yeah. So are you from New York originally or here originally?
So my sister and I both moved for school.
Uh-huh.
And, we're both from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it detects a little accent. It's like a subtle one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually, I think nothing beats like the tranquility in like the country.
Sure.
So it's something I always really enjoy, like especially when I'm back for breaks. It's just always really refreshing just to be around like nature. But I like how Chicago does it. There's a lot of there are a lot of parks.
Oh yeah, there's tons. Yeah, New York has obviously the main park in the middle of New York.
It's horrible though. I don't enjoy being in Central Park.
Really? You don't like Central Park, huh?
Yeah, it just smells like the horses, the animal abuse going on there.
Oh, okay.
It just is too crowded because that's the only park,
Sure, I get what you mean. Yeah, there's a ton of parks here. They do get really full, but there's so many of them that it seems like there's enough room for everybody and enough different places. Plus, we have the beaches and water that you can actually go into in some places, which is nice.
That's very interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, I only went to Central Park a couple of times, and I thought it was cool. Again, I grew up in the Bay Area, so we have San Francisco, and San Francisco has Golden Gate Park, which is kind of the same thing, which is like a big, long, big strip. Has a museum inside of it, a couple of restaurants, a place to play concerts, stuff like that too. So it's a big park also like that, which I really like. But yeah, Chicago has they have the Lakeshore, they have Millennium Park, they have a ton of other little spots. Every borough has its own little place to kind of hang out and get some sun.
My sister's actually studying architecture, so the design of Chicago is something that's really intriguing to me, especially seeing different cities. New York's really laid out, kind of it's very compact, but even though Chicago is such a big city, it feels spacious.
It does, yeah. The architecture is really interesting. My fiance is an architect, so it's kind of the same thing.
Nice.
Yeah, she studied it. She points it out. I send her pictures of stuff all the time because it really has a lot of culture to it in its design. And that was something I was looking at. And you don't think about it. You don't think about it until you look at a building and you go yeah, someone drew this. They designed it. It was going to have the points and places, and there's a purpose to it and a thought process behind why it looks the way it does.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. What are you studying?
I'm actually, I go to Seton Hall, and they have this program where you just, study business law.
Okay.
So I'm in that, program.
Okay, studying business law.
Yeah.
National, international, or national, local laws?
Well, workshopping, I'm planning on doing contract law.
Okay.
So pretty national.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to go into corporate.
Sure.
But some contract law is kind of what I'm pursuing.
Right, okay.
But yeah.
That's interesting work for sure. Just to have the mindset to be able to look at, heretofore, from now, what's that mean for the company itself, and then turn that into something.
Yeah.
Do you find you like that meticulous nature for looking and reading things? Do you have the mindset for that? Is that what got you into it, or were you just I could just charge $300 an hour? That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, ever since I was kind of young, I just watched Law and Order, and that's strangely, it's kind of shockingly common that I hear along with my friends. I was really into being a lawyer from Law and Order.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just I don't have the stomach for anything crime related.
Sure.
And I don't really want to go against unions, so
Sure.
I don't want to go into corporate.
Right.
So it's kind of a happy medium because I do enjoy law.
Yeah. It's really interesting, law as part of a society, right? The agreements that we have in writing, right? There's whole lists of here's what we say we're going to do, what we're going to get out of it, why we're going to do it, and how that's going to occur. And that's the people go about their day without thinking of it. But it's how many laws are in place just to be in a vehicle, just driving, just going about your day, right? How many laws are in place when you're walking across the street and dealing with each other? And that stuff can be interesting. And then obviously businesses have kind of the same thing because they're merging, they're acquiring, they're hiring, they're growing. And there has to be some control in that place in some degree to say this is how much we're going to be liable for, and say this is what we'll do and how much we're not going to do. So that kind of makes sense. And you brought up a good point. You're not in the gory aspects of law, so you can be just in the cutthroat business side of it. That makes sense. A lot less murder.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. That's fun. I wonder how many attorneys Law and Order has made.
Yeah, a lot of icebreakers kind of lead into people saying oh, I was really into Law and Order, and it's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But also for a court attorney to be kind of trained off of it's a little bit worrying. But it's just a new generation. It's a fun quirk,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a funny quirk. It's a great way to put it. That's really curious. And because I've talked to a lot of people that were oh, I watched NCIS and now I want to be, they look at the crime scene investigators, right? They want to do that type of work. And so, of course, it makes sense. Law and Order would have made people that are I want to be an attorney. I want to argue, for defense, or I want to argue, for prosecution, or I want to look at law, but in a different way. because it's like, how does that work? There's international law, there's maritime law, so like out in the ocean has a whole different set of rules. Yeah, that stuff's really fascinating.
Yeah, very much so. It's very interesting, learning more about economics too, because I'm taking very foundational classes right now. I'm a freshman.
Okay.
But it's just like kind of interesting seeing more how the world works.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, if you want to see how the world actually works, brass tacks, here's the actual in writing how it goes. That's law. That's it. That's how the world works together. Is what the laws are going to do in contracts and agreements. That makes a lot of sense. And is that something you want to do in North Carolina, or you want to stay in the city and do that?
That's very interesting. I feel like, if I'm being honest with myself, working in the city makes more sense.
Sure.
Because I would be like, I am immediately accepted into Seton Hall's law school, which is like in New Jersey next to the city, so practicing in the city would make sense.
Yeah.
But if I see myself in a position where like I can, like junior year, I have like LSAT scores that can like, maybe get me into like other schools. I could also just take the whole gist is like it's 1 year off of law school. It's 6 years instead of 7 with Seton Hall.
Yeah.
But I could like take my senior year and then choose a different law school if like I change my mind.
Sure. Okay. That's interesting.
It kind of relies on that. There's this one school in North Carolina, like Chapel Hill, which is a pretty prestigious like law school, and it would be appealing to like go there. But also, it just like nothing beats like 1 year off of law school, and Seton Hall is still regarded, especially with like their internships and stuff.
Sure. Okay.
So it's like I don't really want to make a choice based off of like a name of a school, especially because it's like I don't know. I definitely like Charlotte better as a state though.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, but I feel like with law school, you kind of want the school to have a reputation.
That's true.
To bank on and say, okay, this is a reputable school, because like nobody wants an attorney from like Arizona State Party College,
Yeah, University of Phoenix.
Yeah, right. Yeah. University of Phoenix Online, like law, but it's like okay, yeah, I don't know that you necessarily want that one, but I try not to judge. I'm like, education's education. I think it's what you do with it also matters. So who knows? It could be taking a year off from all of that study would be good, just because it's a lot. It's a beast. I know a lot of people that are, study law. Like it's heavy English work, heavy work on reading. So a year off would be nice to just kind of not have to do that.
Yeah. And I feel like a part of me wants to kind of go into the fashion industry in contract law.
Okay.
And I also think like, location-based, like New York is better for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like what industry, I have to, think more on that.
Yeah.
Just
yeah, that's a great point. That's really interesting. To go into fashion. So that was a question, is like what kind of law, like what did you want to do with it? So you want to go into the fashion industry and create that type of legal structure that they've got, or work with it?
Or like
contracts?
Yeah, probably contracts in that industry, just because like it kind of intersects my passions with like practicing law.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, I don't know, the industry is really appealing to me. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great niche. That's a very great. There's not a lot of fashionista attorneys out there, so that's great to have the mindset for both of those. That's great.
Yeah, it's workshopping it would be like much more pleasurable to work with something that I'm like excited to do.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I do tech, and I like to do tech for companies that I like what they're doing. Like, if they're some like corporate, weapons dealer, I don't want to help them, right? But if it's like something I'm passionate about, I do want to do the work, and I do like to help them out. So I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
All right, looks like you are here.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Tiffany. It was so great chatting. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, stay safe. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks.